So how have you seen Dubai change since the first time you came here?
My first time here was 1982, so there have been several changes, many changes over these 4 decades. I remember flying into Dubai. There was 3 planes there. One was Gulf Air, and I flew on British Caledonian. And there was one building, and it's still there, the trade centre, but of course it's swamped by all the other buildings they've had. And I remember them saying at that time there's going to be big changes in the next 20 years, and there'll be a marina built out by where they were going to build a golf course. None of that was there, obviously, just the Hard Rock Cafe. And I walked away thinking, this is not going to happen. And of course you look at it now and it's like I wouldn't say a mini Manhattan, probably say a grand Manhattan. So massive changes.
And what brought you here to Dubai back then?
We played in a series of pro-ams to promote golf for the airline, for British Caledonian at that time. They had the route to fly into Dubai. So we played at the Dubai Country Club, which was sand with a piece of AstroTurf about this size, and you could use that if you were on the fairway, but not in the rough. And we also played in Abu Dhabi. They had a sand golf course as well, quite near the centre. We also played in a place called Das Island, which I believe is 100 kilometres off the coast here. And we played around gas tanks and fuel tanks and airline runways, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful adventure, but it was another world away, and of course it is. It's a lifetime almost.
How did the golf commentary and Dubai come together for you?
My first commentary was at the Emirates. In strange fashion, a phone call came on Sunday lunchtime from Andrew Miller, who was, I think, the executive director of the Emirates, and they'd only been running a year or so. They'd only had one Desert Classic. And he was looking for Brian Barnes to do the commentary. But Brian had had a liquid lunch. That wasn't strange for Brian. So I said, listen, Andrew, I'll do that. And he said, oh, that's great. He says, we'll send you an airline ticket and we'll pay you £500 for the week. I said, that'll be absolutely fine. And I came over, and Channel 33 were the people who were covering the live golf. They'd never covered golf before. And Richard Coram, who was a disc jockey, a radio host in Dubai, became the presenter. I became the commentator. Channel 33 were doing golf for the first time. So that wasn't a recipe, I don't think, for great success. They were used to doing camel racing, they were used to doing the Dakar rally. And after an hour, the director, Hamid Mubarak, said to me, he says, are we doing okay? And I said, well, we kind of need to see the ball. And he actually had his cameraman on the other side of the spectators, out of manners, out of respect. But of course, they needed to be on the other side. Come Saturday afternoon, the ball never left the centre of the screen. It was like they'd done it all their life. And Hamid Mubarak became a great friend, a really close friend. And we finished it, and I was on my own, just one commentator. And I quite enjoyed it. And when I got home, Sky were just beginning. And they had bought the Desert Classic highlights with the commentary on it, and asked if I would like to go to Spain in a couple of weeks' time to do their Spanish Open or whatever tournament it was, which I did, and that was it. That was the start of me doing commentary.
What do you find is the gift to be successful at golf commentary?
In the beginning, there was a lot of rough edges, obviously, if you're doing something for the first time. But I had the same producer for the first 2 years of working for several different channels. Eurosport, which was Sky Sports as we know it now, just before Sky Sports started. Screen Sport was another, that was the European Sports Network. And I did some work in South Africa, but I had the same producer, and he knocked some of the rough edges off me, or as many as he could afford to knock off me. And each evening would sit down and he said, look, I like what you did there, keep that, but you have to get rid of this. So bit by bit, I was very well trained. I was what they call produced, which doesn't happen so much nowadays. But I was ever so grateful to him by having these 2 years and learning the trade. It was like an apprenticeship. I think you must understand, well, you certainly need the knowledge, but I had that as a player. So that, and the people I were commentating on, I had just finished playing with. So that wasn't difficult. But then you have to learn how television works. I would say the most important thing for golf commentary is realizing that silence is probably your most effective weapon. Like, okay, it's easy to know when to talk. It's maybe not so easy to know when not to talk. So I think that makes a good commentator. I also think you have to think of the fella who's sitting on his sofa watching it on television. If you were in his position, would you like to be listening to what you're delivering? So that was a big part as well. But I was very fortunate because Sky Sports started in 1992 at the beginning of the era of the Dubai Desert Classic, just before Abu Dhabi got involved in. And they were a company that came in and were going to be here for quite some time. So they were patient and they built themselves up nicely. The Premier League came at the same time, 1992. So I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. And I think when you look back in your life, you may have done some good things. We definitely have done some bad things, but to be in the right place at the right time is either fate or luck, maybe a bit of both.
And obviously we're here for the final event on the DP World Tour season. This is the one that all the players want to win, isn't it? And how's this event grown since 2009?
But enormously. It's the season-ending event and a reward for those who make it here for the way they've played over not just a couple of good tournaments, but they've played over 12 months. So as a player, this is what your goal is. Once you get here, your goal is to finish as high up as you can. But you look around, the Earth course wasn't even built in these days. I mean, it was maybe on a blueprint somewhere, but it wasn't built. But you look at it now, and that's quite a short space of time. You're looking at 14, 15 years. And you look at the show they have here, the way it's set up, the way everything is looked after. They consider everything carefully so that it's a spectacle that goes around the world that they're proud of. So it's not just the players, it's not just the reward at the end of the season, it's the DP World Tour. And based here in Dubai, DP World Tour, they're coming home to their place, the best golfers in the world, the #1 golfers at the top of the list. I think if you'd said that in 2008, they maybe would have questioned you. But that's how much it has grown, and it's a wonderful spectacle. And people look at Dubai now. If you take a wide shot of the marina, for instance, down there, everyone knows that's Dubai. It's become recognisable all over the world. They've got the biggest building in the Khalifa Town. All these things weren't there, so the tour has grown with them in their field. And we're very fortunate that we've had the support of everyone in this part of the world. And I include Abu Dhabi in it, I include Qatar in that. They were in at the beginning as well. And year by year it gets bigger and better.